So we talked about the commission being 15%. So we're going to talk today in this video about how to calculate 15% without a calculator. So we're going to start with the basic idea that 15% is the same thing as 10% plus 5%. It's pretty straightforward. And we know how to calculate 10%, right? You just, everything drops a decimal place value. 5% would just be whatever half of whatever 10% is, right? So if you know what 10% is, then half of whatever that is must be 5%. So if you can take those two numbers and add them together, that must be 15%. So what does that look like? Well, let's look at the example of these knife sets. So the knife set that I sold, the chef set, the really nice one, was $2,269. The essential set, which is just like a small little set of the essential knives, was $596. And the homemaker set, which is for, kind of in the middle of the road, was $1,496. So let's say, for example, that I sold one chef set, which I didn't even do. But to take 15% of that, the first thing we're going to do is estimate. We're going to estimate $2,269 to $2,200. I'm going to estimate down so that I know my actual number would actually be higher. So what do I do? Well, first thing, like I said, is I take 10%. We know how to take 10% of a number. You just divide by 10. So everything drops a place value. So instead of $2,200, it becomes $220. You could also think of it as kind of dropping a zero there. So 10% of 2,200 is 220. Well, what's 5%? Well, 5% is half of 220, right? Because if this is 10%, then half of this must be 5%, because 5 is half of 10. And I know half of 220 is 110. So if I add 10% plus 5%, I get 15%. But I know 10% is $220, and 5% of this amount is $110. If I add those together, I get $330. In other words, if I sold a chef set, I would get $330 to myself. All right. So that's how you take 15%. First, you take 10%, which you know how to do. Then you take half of whatever you got. That's 5%. Then you add those two numbers together and you get 15%. So let's look at another example, a little more complicated. So some people were awesome sellers. So if you were able to sell one chef set, one essential set, and 10 homemaker sets, well, the first thing you want to do is figure out how much total you sold for Cutco. And what I would do there is first I would figure out, well, how much is 10 homemaker sets? Well, a homemaker set, again, up at the top, we said was $1,496. I'll estimate that to about $1,500. Now I'm going to multiply by 10 because I'm selling 10 of them, not dividing by 10 here. I'm multiplying by 10 because I'm selling 10 of them. And 1,500, if I multiply by 10, everything jumps up a place value. So it becomes $15,000. So that's $15,000 in sales that I made, right? Just on the homemaker sets. But again, I also sold one chef set, which is about $2,200. I sold one essential set, which is about $569, which I estimate to that. And then about $15,000 in homemaker sets. So I add those together, 0, 0, 8, 7, 1, about $17,800. And just, again, to estimate a little bit more, although the more I estimate, the further I get from the actual answer. But for ease's sake, I'm going to say I sold about $18,000 in sales. All right. Now, again, I don't get that money. That's Cutco's money. I get 15%. So the first step for me was to figure out how much in sales total did I make. And I did that through multiplication and addition, depending on what I sold. Now I got to calculate 15%. Of what? Well, 15% of 18,000, because that's my sales that I made. So what do? First, I take 10%. And again, to take 10% of my sales, I divide by 10. So everything drops a place value and it becomes $1,800. Then 5% is just half of whatever 10% was. And we know 10% was 1,800. So half of 1,800, that's 18. So that's half of 18 is 9. So it's half of 1,800 is 900. Then I add those together. 10% plus 5% is 15%. I know 18 plus 9 is 27. So that's $2,700. So that's that guy's commission just from selling knives. So the takeaways are Number one, to take 15% of a number, you're basically just taking 10% of a number and then 5% of the number and adding it together. The second big takeaway, hopefully, is you're getting better and better at multiplying and dividing by 10 and just upping or decreasing the place value of every digit.